college and I am now a qualified paediatric nurse. So I started off in 2014 and started off from level 1 and did all the way through to my level 3. So I finished my level 3 in 2017 and then I progressed on to university where I've done 3 years and now qualified to be a children's nurse. I'm on the oncology unit, so in my training we go through different specialities. I trained in Manchester, so I was lucky enough to train at the Manchester Children's Hospital, so they have various different specialities. So I went through like cardiac, general medicine, neuro, and I finally decided to do oncology. Oncology is children's cancer unit, so on that unit we have children ranging from, they can literally be like a few days old up until 18, diagnosed with various different types of cancer, and obviously for the children there it's very much, it can be their first time coming into hospital and the treatment can be so intense, but that's where my training from Brighter Beginnings comes in so much, because we have a play team, but play teams aren't there from, like, we're there all day, whereas play teams are there from like 7:30 till 6. And if we've got a child that comes in at 11 o'clock at night and they needed an intervention doing, so we have things like NG tubes that need passing, which is a feeding tube that goes into their nose, into their tummy, or they might need bloods doing, and for some children that is the first time they've ever had it done. So the training from Brighter Beginnings in their development stage helps me as a qualified nurse sit them children down and prep them for that, but also distraction techniques from like the play side of it, that comes in, like, I find it has become kind of the foundations of how I practice as a nurse. So the level 1 was my traineeship, so I did the 100 hours working in the nursery, and just that really gave me the insight of what I was going into, and it was something that I really enjoyed. And then I went into the apprenticeship, which worked perfectly for me because I came into from a part-time job into the traineeship, so going into the apprenticeship was so helpful because I'd gone from having a wage and could still carry on that whilst training, and then I worked my way up after I'd finished my level 2 to my level 3 apprenticeship, and then stayed on I was able to stay on with the company throughout that, it made it a really smooth transition. I knew it was something that I wanted to do, but I think going straight into it gave me that insight of this is what it is, but it also gave me the basic underpinning knowledge of what I then needed to know to go on to my level 2. So it, like, just the basics of child development, like I've had children in my family, but I think when you do that level 1, the basics that it gives you helps you then progress onto that level 2 and your apprenticeship, and you're kind of ready to go into that more in-depth of child development and all that side of it. If it's a very good starting point for, like, I had like a couple of years out of college, so I even went into it a little bit later. I didn't go into it straight from school, and even going in from it from that, it just helps you, give you that little bit of time to kind of be able to focus on what you're next going to do, rather than going straight from school into an apprenticeship. I find it can be quite overwhelming just having stuff all the time studying, whereas the level 1, it's you're studying, but it's quite
more relaxed.
Yeah, and more relaxed.
Informal.
Yeah, and obviously because you're getting to go into the place of work as well, the practical side of it, it helps you link them two together for in the future. Like, that's what I found. Linking the theory into practical is just, it all seems to click into place a lot easier. So my part-time job, I finished at 12:30, and then I used to come to the nursery and do my hours, it's great because it's flexible. It's them hours that you need to do, you can work with the nurseries and say, this is what I can do. So if you have still got commitments, you can still stick with them, which was a massive thing for me because I didn't want to go straight from having a part-time job to kind of having nothing for like a few weeks because I was so used to it. But having that flexibility of even just like your commitments that you might have outside of work, like if you go to like social groups or things like that, you can work around them and still keep that, which I think is really important, especially in this day and age. You need that. So I think my traineeship, it was around 6 to 8 weeks through the summer, and then my apprenticeship started in the September. So I was quite lucky in the fact that I kind of had that time to do. I used to just go after my part-time job and do the hours, and because it's only 100 hours, when you think 5 days a week, it does all add up. So I think it was between 6 to 8 weeks, and then I was able to go near enough straight into the apprenticeship, which was great because that's what I needed really. I'd already had my little break from learning and kind of got myself back into it, which the traineeship helped a lot of, because I'd had I think it was about 2 years out of college, so going back into education is a bit like, oh gosh, like how am I going to be able to do it? But yeah, and then I went straight into my apprenticeship. It gave me that head start of, right, eased me back into it, and then, right, I'm prepared, I'm ready to just go full into it now. So my level 2 was a year, and then my level 3 was, you could finish it within a year, but you had 2 years to do it. So I think mine took just over a year. I think it was about 18 months that it took me to finish it.
For your level 3?
Yeah, for my level 3. But what I really liked about level 3 was it was online. So even if you'd done a lesson, if there was something, because I'd done my level 3 with the training centre, there's stuff that you can look back on and just go more in depth with. So I was able to, in my own time, if I thought, all right, well, I'll do that, I was able to then go home, work on it myself, and then speak to the training centre and say, like, is this okay, upload it. They could then give me feedback in between me coming for the sessions, which I found really helpful. So I did my traineeship, and that was 1 session a week, and then my level 2 was the same. I think we might have had more than that, maybe 1 or 2 sessions a week at the training centre, and then in practical, like in the nursery, and just we'd go over things that we'd done, planning for different sessions for the children, and we'd do like role plays, and the staff would join in on that, and it helped so much to see it from going back over it, reflecting on it, and then you can go back out in practice and put that back in place, what you've kind of learned. And I think like the fact that the staff would do role plays with you and be like, right, well, I'll be the child, and the things that they would come up with from a child's perspective would then make you think, oh yeah, and then like you said, like you pick it apart, you go back out into practice and you think, right, and it makes you develop so much throughout the course. So I finished school, I went to college and did dance, and then was meant to go to dance school, but that kind of fell through. And then I did teach dance for a little bit, which I really enjoyed, but it was kind of, I was doing a part-time job and that, and it was a bit difficult to kind of juggle them both. So I just worked in retail while I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, and it was the thing of, I want to work with children. So I think I always wanted to do nursing, but it was a kind of thing of, can I do it? And then I just thought, it's now or never. So I applied thinking that I wouldn't get in, and then I did, and went through my training, and it is something that I absolutely love, and I think, like I've said before, I think the training from here I don't think if I hadn't have done that, I don't think I would enjoy it as much, because I think the stuff that I can give to my patients from having that knowledge is things like, I know where they should be in development, so if I see that maybe they're not meeting that milestone, I can then get in touch with the other disciplinary teams to help them with that. And I think that's something that kind of, when I was going for interviews, that was something that I was quite proud of, and that set me apart from maybe other people that hadn't done that type of training, because they kind of knew the basics of maybe their families from having children in the family, but they've not got that in-depth knowledge, which it just gives me a bit more confidence that I know that I'm giving the best to my patients, and I'm looking out for not just their medical needs but all of their needs, which is obviously what working in a nursery and the training centre always kind of drilled into me. It was about holistic care. It wasn't just about them having the experiences in a plate, it's about absolutely everything.